had a baby, and I'm here to tell you all about it.
Don't get this piece, this love from the father. Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Chris, and so today is a video I never in a million years thought that I would be making, but this is my birth story experience. So I had a baby a few days ago. This is my daughter. She's right here. She was born on April 18th at 11:14 a.m. And I want to tell you about that from the perspective of somebody who was, number one, didn't want kids in the first place. Number two, terrified of birth. So if you find yourself in a similar situation, or you've ever been in that situation, or if you're just curious about how birth was for me, stay tuned. All right, so first of all, let me say, today is the first day in a long time that I felt like pretty, I felt cute. So it's like, you know what, I'm gonna get dressed and I'm gonna film a little bit, but also, like, since having her, this is the first day that I feel like I've got my groove. Like, I feel more like, I'm not quite like my old self, because I feel like I'll never be the same again, but in a good way. But anywho, let's get started. Okay, so if you want to know the story about how I found out I was pregnant, I have a video talking about that and like the things that surprised me about pregnancy. I'll link that down below, but let's talk about the delivery. So because my baby was a little bit small, they said that she was intrauterine growth restricted, meaning there wasn't quite enough room in my tummy for her to grow well. They recommended delivery for her at 37 weeks. Each time we would do the anatomy scan, she was still measuring like a little bit smaller than what she should have been for her gestation. Well, actually, no. The first two anatomy scans, she was right on track, but they were saying that she was in a lower percentile, meaning that she was still pretty small for her gestational age. And then at the scan before she was born, she was measuring at like 4 pounds 1 ounce when she should have been like 5 pounds 25 ounces. But that is I'll get to that a little bit more. So they recommended that I deliver at 37 weeks exactly, which is what happened. So the night before the delivery, I went to the hospital to be induced. So I am the kind of person, first of all, I'm making this video because I'm the kind of person, I want to know all the details before I get into something. So like, I want to know how stuff feels. Like, if you're my friend, if you've ever been pregnant or if you've ever had a baby, especially recently, I have been picking your brain about it. Like, well, what does this feel like? What would you compare this to? How would you compare this to this? You know, trying to get an idea of it, because honestly, birth was something that I was terrified for. You know, you hear so many stories about things that can go right during a birth, so many things that can go wrong during a birth. So I wish, honestly, I could have had a doula. I've always said that if we ever had a kid, I would want to have a doula just to kind of advocate for me and be there for me in that way, but we didn't, so that kind of made me feel a little on edge. But you know what, like I've learned in pregnancy and many other things in life, you just have to pray about it and trust God, and He will take care of the rest, and He did. So so yeah, I went in the night before, Thursday night to be induced. So they put a pill in my cervix called Cytotec, and that actually wasn't horrible. So prior to this, I'd only had one cervical check, and it wasn't bad. When they put the pill in my cervix, it wasn't bad either. Like, I'm thinking it's gonna be pain or something, but it honestly didn't feel like anything. Like, it wasn't a big deal. So they put that in my cervix, and then we waited around for 4 hours to see if I would dilate a little bit, and I was barely like half a centimeter. So they put another Cytotec in my cervix as well, and we waited. And I was starting to dilate like a very teeny bit, but it was maybe like a half centimeter to an hour. But things were progressing pretty slowly. So that was, like I said, Thursday night at 8 p.m. So around midnight, came in, checked, nothing much. But things started picking up around 3 a.m. Let me get my phone, because I actually took notes, because people were like, keep me posted. Hold on. Oh, hold on, baby. All right, here are my labor notes. So at 3:17 a.m. I wrote, I don't foresee sleep happening. When I get comfortable and about to doze off, a contraction comes. They feel like a 5.5 to 6.5, but it feels like cramps mixed with a Charlie horse. I decided to get out of the bed and onto the ball for a while since I can't sleep anyway. I feel a lot of pressure in my tailbone. The nurse asked if I wanted anything for pain, and I didn't even consider an option other than the epidural for pain, but I'm glad that it's available. I'm gonna try to tough it out for a little while longer. Then at 4:22 a.m., the last entry I wrote was, I'm still not a full centimeter dilated. I'm back in bed with the peanut ball. So let me tell y'all about this peanut ball. So the peanut ball was basically like a like kind of like a birthing ball. Well, it's shaped like a peanut, but they put it, basically the nurse was helping me to get in rotation to help things go a little further along before they did the next step, which would have been Pitocin. This peanut ball worked for me. I didn't even have Pitocin, like, so I don't even remember that. I'm glad I wrote that down. I don't remember that I said the contractions were like a 5.5 to 6.5. But yeah, she put me on my side and put the peanut ball between my legs and kind of twisted me like in an angle. And so she kept coming in and rotating and doing that. That's when things picked up. So that's like 4:22 a.m. Amelia was born at 11:14 a.m. So every like 15 to 30 minutes she would come in and rotate me or whatever. But before that, oh my gosh. So it was like the contractions jumped from that to like all of a sudden. Like I said, I had just declined any kind of medication. I think she said like they were gonna offer fentanyl. Like there's a hospital grade one, not like drugs, y'all, because I thought the same thing. I'm like, I don't want that, no. But yeah, she offered me that and I said no. When I tell you things picked up so fast, like pain wise, I couldn't even think straight. Like if my husband hadn't been there, I don't know, I couldn't think straight. I was in so much pain. It was like it went from that to like an immediate 10. And I was like, please call the nurse, please call the nurse. And he called her and I was like, please give me the epidural. Because I listen, I was getting that epidural. I knew that going into this. I was getting an epidural, absolutely. So she went ahead and let the anesthesiologist know. Now I knew going into birth, because I had asked my doctor 500 million times, like, you sure? Because apparently some people's doctors will make them wait until they're dilated a certain amount before they could get the epidural. I have been expressing my concerns to her the whole pregnancy. She's like, no, you can get the epidural whenever you want. You know, I don't want you to be in pain. There's no point for you to be in pain if you don't have to be. So I was like, call the doctor, please give me the epidural. So that's what happened. So I would say maybe 20 minutes later, the anesthesiologist was in the room getting ready to place the epidural into my back. But between then, I was in so much pain. Like, you know how you see, I don't know if you've ever seen like those hypnobirthing classes, or I'm I'm over here, first of all, I'm calling on the name of Jesus. I'm like remembering every scripture I ever knew. Like I am praying, I'm in so much pain. I'm like, God, you said where 2 or 3 are gathered, you are there in the midst. Lord, help me, help me. I was trying to remember that, like, oh, I was going through it, y'all. Like I was trying to remember also like any little technique for coping with labor that I'd seen. Like one thing I'd heard people say is like, if you're like, ah, you know, that kind of heightens things. But if you're like, like, so I was like, trying to get through it, like trying to stay calm. But yeah, finally the anesthesiologist came in. He explained to me what was going to happen, and everybody was so nice, so calm, thank God. But as he's getting things placed, I have to be still. Like I can't do anything during the contractions because it's like it's hurting really bad. So they were just so great working with me, like to get things done between then. But as he was placing the needle, I noticed like I would feel like sharpness like in some spots, and like I would feel it more on one side than the other. First of all, the whole time I've been pregnant, I've been counting on this epidural to work. Like it never crossed my mind that number one, this could not work. Number two, that this could only partially work. So as he's placing it and I'm feeling these things and I'm going through the contractions, I'm like, oh my God, there's a possibility that this might not work at all. And so like I'm internally panicking, but I'm trying to stay calm, and thank God it does work. So I didn't realize this, but with the epidural, I'm so sorry about my voice, y'all. With the epidural, I could still feel the contractions, but they were less intense. So at this point, like I said, after the epidurals, they're still rotating me side to side with the peanut ball every like 15 to 30 minutes. And I'm still having to breathe through the contractions, but they are less intense. So if you are like me and you want to know what it felt like a period cramp mixed with a Charlie horse. But also I realized after I had her, I was feeling a lot of pelvic pain. So like I know that now because like the first day or two after I had her, whenever I would walk, if I would take steps that were too wide, I would feel like a similar sensation. It felt like my pelvis was trying to crack, okay? I felt like those things, those sensations mixed with, it felt like I started feeling like I had to poop really bad, and like I had to pee really bad. And I couldn't empty my bladder. Like that's what it felt like holding your pee for a long time. And actually my water ended up breaking after that happened. So things started to pick up quickly. Every time she would come in to check on me, I was dilating further and further until it was getting close to time to push. I was like 8 centimeters dilated, and I was telling the lady, I was like, I really feel like I have to go poop. Like, I was like, listen, I'm regular. Like, I poop around the same time every day. This is about that time. I really have to go poop. Can I please try to go poop? Like, please. Like, I was almost begging her at this point. She's like, okay, just hang it, hang it if you really think you have to poop. Well, I just knew that that's what it was. It was not. So a little bit later, it was time to push. She checked me for a final time, and it was time to push. So let me also back up really quick. One thing I forgot to mention. So you okay? So the cervical exams that I'd had before, that one cervical exam, it was fine. When she put the Cytotec in my vagina and my cervix, that was fine. What hurt was when she kept coming back to check and see how far dilated I was, like in the beginning stages. It felt like, number one, they're trying to shove their hands up there, but like the knuckles are getting stuck on the outside. Like, it felt like brass knuckles in my vagina, and in addition to like all the stuff that was going on. That was a lot. That was crazy. That was actually crazy. But yeah, I'm so sorry. I forgot to mention something else too. They put the catheter in after they gave me the epidural as well, so that way I couldn't get up and pee, but that way my bladder was still empty. And I thought that would provide relief from that feeling of having to go so bad, but it did not. So yeah, anyway, it's time to push. They call my doctor or whatever, and the crazy thing about the contractions at this point is that I cannot control like pushing. Like, I'm trying so hard not to push, but my body is like literally pushing. And so on the monitor, my husband could see the contractions when they were coming. So what he would start to do is let me know, like when the number would go up, I knew that the contraction was coming. So he would let me know then, so I could kind of mentally prepare and try to like brace myself a little bit better and try not to push, because I'm trying to hold on till my doctor gets there. So she gets there, she gets all gowned up, and it is go time. It's time to push. And I have never been more relieved in my life. That feeling of having to poop, like, there's no other, it didn't feel like anything else. It felt like I had to poop, and there was no feelings like in my vagina. All I felt was like poop, like the biggest poop of my life. And so they encouraged me to push like I was taking the biggest poop of my life. Pushing wasn't bad, actually. I was so relieved and ready to push at that point. And I thought I was gonna have to push for way longer. So how it works is you have to wait until you're having a contraction, and then push, like push down like you're trying to take it down, okay? So I pushed through like 5 contractions, and on the last one, I thought she was just kidding. You know how doctors will like say things to try to calm you down and have you not panic. She was saying, first of all, she said that there was another lady on the floor that was about to have her baby too. She's like, oh, I wonder who's gonna have their baby first. But I did see on TikTok recently that's a tactic by doctors to get you to push more. But anyway, but yeah, she was like, you're doing so good, one more push and she'll be out. I'm here thinking she's not gonna be out that fast. I'm thinking, you have to deliver the head, then the body, and then maybe the rest flies out after that. I gave it one more push and she shot out along with fluid everywhere. And I was so stunned because I'm, mentally I'm like, I'm gonna have to keep pushing. This is gonna take forever. And she came out and they placed her on my chest, and like, I thought upon seeing her, I would like be so emotional and cry, but I was just like, oh my gosh, like her little warm, wet body, they placed her on my chest. And I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it to finally see her. You feel the kicking for 9 months, you see the little ultrasounds and things like that. And just to see her for the first time, it was just wow. Just wow. Now I will say, how you feel like, not you feel like, but how you hear some people say like, it's that instant bond, it's that instant love. Of course I love my daughter, like, but it wasn't that instant. Like, I'm thinking like Bella and Jacob Twilight imprinting, like, oh, I love you, like that kind of intense, super intense loving feeling. I personally didn't feel that at birth, but I do feel that now. So I just wanted to point that out because I was feeling really bad about that afterwards. Like, why don't I have that super, super strong feeling? Like, of course, like I said, I love her. I feel connected. She's a part of me. But initially, that was my experience. So yeah, as I'm holding her, they're getting me stitched up. I did tear, y'all. And that's something I was afraid of too. But you know what? Look at how God worked it out. When she was born, she was 4 pounds and 11 ounces. And I'm glad now because once they told me I would have to deliver early, I was thinking, you know what? that might not be so bad for me. Maybe that means an easier delivery. Maybe that means I won't tear. I did tear. I got a barely 2nd degree tear, and because the epidural was still in my system when I delivered, I could barely feel her stitching me up. I will say, after the fact, it was and still is a little hard to sit down unless I have like a super soft cushion. But that is my birth story. I hope I didn't leave anything out. I hope I gave like enough details. If you were someone who's terrified of birth, you know, it wasn't so bad. You know how they say it, like you forget. I would always hear people say you forget about it after the fact. The first few days, I'm not going to lie, like I would be trying to fall asleep and I would have like PTSD flashbacks of like certain parts of labor. But like now, I feel like that's why I'm glad I recorded today, because like right now, like some of those details, they don't seem so scary and so big. Would I want to have another child and go through labor again? At this point, no, I would not. You know, it's a great experience, wonderful experience being pregnant. That was cool. What a kind of wonderful little souvenir here. But if I had to do it again, I could do it. Okay, let me show you my baby. Let me show you my baby. This is my baby. Hey, girl. And I love her so much. Like, I never thought that I would love being a mom so much, but like, it's like having a child changes your perspective on a lot of things, and I look at life and the world so differently. Like, there's so much that I want to do with her and for her, and so many things I want to do differently than my own childhood and my upbringing. And I think she looks a lot like me too, actually. But this is my little baby. This is Emilia. That's what we named her. I'm so happy to be a mom. I'm so happy to be her mom. I think she is perfect. She's so cute. Like, even waking up in the middle of the night, like to feed her and to change her diaper, and even I love that. Even if I'm like exhausted, it's so worth it. Like, it's just, and she can't even talk or anything yet, but like it's just so wow. But that's all I have for now. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope I was detailed enough. And if you're somebody who was breaking out of this swaddle, if you're somebody who was terrified about giving birth, I hope that my story provided you a little bit of reassurance. It'll be worth it in the end. If there's anything that I didn't address, or if you have any questions, or if I wasn't detailed enough, don't hesitate to ask, because I wanted to know all the deets. So if you're like me and you want to know all the deets too, if there's something I forgot, just leave it down below. And as for always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.